Rachel deserves this promotion more than anyone, announced Director Williams at our Monday morning meeting. Her dedication to the accounting department has been exemplary. My name is Thomas Chen, 44, Senior Financial Analyst at Riverside Manufacturing for 12 years. I watched as my assistant of 3 years, Rachel Martinez, accepted the position of Finance Manager, the role I'd been promised after leading our department through 2 successful audits. "Congratulations, Rachel," I said, forcing a smile as my colleagues applauded. For 12 years, I'd arrived first and left last. I'd caught a $2.3 million invoicing error that saved us from bankruptcy. I'd implemented new systems that reduced processing time by 40%. But Rachel was Director Williams's niece by marriage, though HR didn't know about the family connection. The real nightmare began a month into Rachel's promotion. I noticed discrepancies in our vendor payments. Small amounts, $800 here, $1,200 there. When I mentioned it to her, she laughed. "Thomas, you're too meticulous. These are just rounding differences. Focus on your assigned tasks, not my responsibilities." From that day, my workload doubled. Rachel assigned me the most tedious accounts while giving prime clients to Bradley, a junior analyst she'd hired fresh from college, who happened to be her boyfriend's cousin. "The Durant Industries account needs a complete historical audit back to 2019, she announced one Friday at 4:30 p.m. "I need it Monday morning, Thomas." I spent the weekend in the office, reviewing 3 years of transactions. Meanwhile, photos on social media showed Rachel and Bradley at an expensive steakhouse, celebrating his Employee of the Month award, an honor based on work I'd actually completed. 3 months in, I discovered something that made my blood run cold. While auditing the Durant account, I found shell companies receiving payments for services never rendered. Phoenix Consulting, Liberty Solutions, Apex Advisory, all registered to the same address, all receiving monthly payments between $5,000 and $15,000. I traced the approval signatures. Rachel Martinez, every single one. I started documenting everything. Screenshots, transaction records, approval chains. But when I tried to access the full vendor database, I found my permissions had been restricted. "Security protocols," Rachel explained when I inquired. "Only management needs full access now." She began a systematic campaign to undermine me. In meetings, she'd interrupt my presentations with corrections that were actually wrong. She'd change my report deadlines without notice, then publicly berate me for being unreliable. "Thomas seems to be struggling with our new systems," she told Director Williams loud enough for the entire floor to hear. "Perhaps we should consider if he's still the right fit for our evolving department." I kept quiet. I kept working. And I kept collecting evidence. 6 months after Rachel's promotion, I'd identified over $400,000 in suspicious payments. The shell companies were billing for consulting services, training programs, and software licenses that didn't exist. I also discovered Rachel had access to create and approve vendors, a violation of basic internal controls. But I needed more than spreadsheets. I needed proof of where the money went. Late one night, I heard Rachel on the phone in her office. "The Cayman account is set up. Just keep the amounts under $10,000 to avoid reporting requirements." I recorded the conversation on my phone, standing silently outside her door. The breaking point came when Rachel wrote me up for insubordination after I questioned a $25,000 payment to one of her shell companies during a meeting. Director Williams sided with her. "Thomas, your negative attitude is affecting team morale. One more incident, and we'll have to let you go." That night, I packaged everything. 6 months of evidence, recorded conversations, bank statements I'd obtained through a friend at our bank, showing large deposits to Rachel's personal accounts. I sent it anonymously to the FBI's Financial Crimes Unit and our company's board of directors. 2 weeks later, on a quiet Tuesday morning, FBI agents walked into our office. They seized Rachel's computer and files while she sat frozen at her desk. "Ms. Martinez, you're under arrest for wire fraud, embezzlement, and money laundering." As they led her out in handcuffs, she saw me watching from my cubicle. The realization dawned in her eyes. She knew I was the one who'd exposed her. Director Williams was terminated the same day when the investigation revealed he'd been receiving kickbacks. 10% of every fraudulent payment Rachel approved. That's why he'd promoted her, why he'd protected her, why he'd threatened my job. The board appointed me as interim finance manager while they searched for permanent leadership. Within a month, they offered me the position permanently, with a 40% salary increase and a formal apology for the company's failure to protect whistleblowers. Rachel's trial revealed she'd embezzled $1.2 million over 8 months. She received 7 years in federal prison. Director Williams got 5 years and was ordered to pay $120,000 in restitution. At Rachel's sentencing, her lawyer painted her as a young professional, led astray by a corrupt supervisor. But the judge wasn't convinced. Ms. Martinez didn't just steal money. She systematically destroyed the career of an honest employee who threatened to expose her. She weaponized her position to silence opposition. This wasn't misguided youth. It was calculated crime. A year later, I implemented new financial controls that made embezzlement nearly impossible. I also established an anonymous reporting system and whistleblower protections that actually worked. Bradley, Rachel's favorite junior analyst, quit the day after her arrest. Last I heard, he was working at a car dealership. The Employee of the Month plaque with his name still hangs in our break room, a reminder of how easily merit can be manufactured when corruption runs deep. During my first week as finance manager, I found a note Rachel had written about me in her files. "Thomas is too ethical to be manageable. Find a way to remove him by Q4. I framed that note and hung it in my office. Sometimes the best revenge is simply being exactly what your enemies feared you were: incorruptible. The Riverside manufacturing case became a textbook example in forensic accounting courses. They teach it as the Chen method, how one persistent employee brought down an entire embezzlement ring by refusing to look away. I still arrive first and leave last, but now it's because I'm building something worth protecting, not because I'm trying to prove my worth to people who never intended to see it. 6 months ago, I received a letter from Rachel in prison. She apologized and asked if I could write a character reference for her parole hearing. I sent back a copy of her own performance review of me, where she'd written, "Thomas lacks the flexibility needed in modern finance." Below it, I added, "You were right. I was inflexible about ethics. Thank you for the reminder of why that matters." Sometimes the mob doesn't win. Sometimes patient documentation and quiet persistence triumph over connections and corruption. It took me 12 years to get the promotion I deserved. It took Rachel 8 months to lose everything. The difference? I built my career on competence. She built hers on theft. And in the end, the numbers told the truth about both of us.